It is such a great honor and a privilege, really, to meet and introduce Hella Blumenthal, a very special, special lady. And we're here in Sea Point in South Africa, and I really, really appreciate it.
Sea Point.
In Sea Point.
In Sea Point in Cape Town.
In Cape Town.
Yes.
Hella, I am so grateful for this interview. I cannot tell you how grateful I am. Can I just ask, just to begin with,
yes.
Where were you born?
I was born in Warsaw, in actually Praga, which is a suburb of Warsaw, on the other side of the river Vistula, which we called Wisla. And I was born...
Can I ask when? In what date?
I was born...
You're very young looking, and...
I was born on a Shabbos, Yom... I just can't think, I'm sorry. I was born in 1921.
1921, wow.
Nachamu, Shabbos Nachmu.
Wow, that was a special Nachamu.
Yes.
Wow.
That's why my Hebrew name is Nechama.
Nechama, wow. And your maiden name was Frank?
Yes, my late father was Naftali, Zichrono Levrocha.
Naftali Frank.
Naftali Frank. Naftali HaKohen.
Wow. And you remember growing up in
I
Warsaw?
was a big girl already when the war broke out, and I went to Beis Yaakov.
The religious school. Wow. Yeah.
And that was the primary school. There was no high school yet. The original Beis Yaakov, which started in Poland, in Krakow, by Sarah Shenira.
That's right.
Because I come from a very, very religious family. My late father was an Amshinover Chosed.
Your late father was the Amshinover Chosed?
Yes.
So in Beit Vegan, we have the Amshinover...
The Rebbe, Rab Shimele, Zichrono Levrocha, was in our home when our Torah was finished. What do you call it? Celebration.
When they were writing the Sacred Torah?
No, when it was finished, I think.
Haknasat Torah.
Yes. With the Hasidim, and the cook came. They brought a cook with a big beard, and they took over the kitchen to make...
And you remember?
Of course.
So Helen, you know that the Amshinover Rebbe got a visa from Sugihara.
I know.
And he went to Japan.
With the family.
With the family, and he went to Japan.
No, you went to Shanghai.
But before, he went to Japan.
Oh, before you went to Shanghai?
He was in Japan.
I didn't know this.
And he got a visa from Sugihara. Yeah.
His son, whom I went to visit in Yerushalayim, remembered the names of my father, Alav Shalom, and all my brothers.
In fact,
I had 4 brothers. I was the youngest in a family of 7 children.
7 children. Before we start, I just want to mention that before the Amshinover Rebbe, who's the Rebbe now, his late mother, she went to see the son of Sugihara when he came to the Mir about 3 years ago. And she was very ill, and she didn't go out of Beit Vegan. I live in Beit Vegan.
His mother or his
mother?
His grandmother.
Okay, the grandmother. So what happened is...
His grandmother was Nechama.
Oh.
Is Nechama. I hope she's still alive.
No, she was there.
I used to come to Beit Vegan.
Wow. So she went to see Sugihara, the son of Sugihara. And she was also with Rebbetzin Ezrahi. And they said, how come you left Beit Vegan? So she said, if it wasn't for Sugihara, the father, I wouldn't be here. There's Karas HaTov. It's very important to show Karas HaTov, to be grateful. And it's such a small world.
But you know that they went from Shanghai after the liberation, they went to America, to New York.
Yeah.
Then they came.
Yeah, it's true.
They went to Israel.
They were connected also with Reb Chaim Valkin, with his family. The one I showed you, the rabbi that I took to see Sugihara, they were connected with Reb his father and his family.
So you know
In
about the
America.
Rebbe.
Sure.
Small
It's a
world.
very small world. So growing up in Warsaw,
By the way, the present Rebbe
of Amshanov,
doesn't want to see women. His grandmother I wanted to come and see him. She says, he won't see women.
was
And I
coming
never
to-
went back there. I used to
Oh,
support them for
it's
years.
a chaval.
Since after the war, since I came to this
Sure.
country, 1948, I used to support them.
Wow, it's a chaval.
And even when they came to Israel.
Wow.
Anyway, that's another story.
Sure. So Hela, growing up in Warsaw, you were your family.
In Praga, which is a suburb, there's a river called Vistula, which is running from the Carpathy Mountains and falls into the Baltic Sea. And it crosses Warsaw.
And you were on the other side of the river.
I was on the other side.
Okay.
We were living, it wasn't a suburb, but it was like a smaller side of Warsaw. That's where I grew up.
And was it a very frum kehila? Were you in a frum?
They were from and they were not non-from people, like everywhere in the world.
And were there also a lot of non-Jewish people in the area as well?
The Poles,
Poles.
mainly Poles.
And
It was
and
Poland.
how did you get on? Did you have any Polish friends, or did you mix together?
I had some, but I wasn't allowed to, because we tried to keep. We
Kosher,
were living
yeah.
in our own Jewish surroundings, because my family had a business. They were selling. We had a shop, selling everything that a tailor needed, from the needle to the garment, everything, from buttons, materials, kosher linen, kosher lappen. You know that?
That there was no sharpness.
No,
That they didn't mix wool and linen together. Wow.
everything. A tailor came in, got everything from the smallest, because there was no such a thing as go to the business, to a shop and buy a ready-made garment. There were Jewish tailors who made you suit, your
I know.
garment, not suit, but the capote.
And a lot of rabbonim came. A lot of rabbis came.
No, only the tailors
The
were
tailors,
coming.
but they made.
And it came Friday, when they came quickly to finish off the garment, because they wanted to bring the ready-made garment to the person that ordered it, so they can get paid and give it to the wife to still buy for Shabbos the last minute,
Wow.
to buy food for Shabbos. So when I had to have a pair of shoes, I had to stand in the corner of the shop and watch my mother to have a break, that there was no customers.
Wow.
And then she took me to the shop to buy whatever, whether I needed a new pair of shoes or an undergarment.
It's amazing.
I come from a very, very frum home.
Very religious home. Did you?
If the war wouldn't break out,
Yeah.
and I was still alive, I would have also been wearing a sheitel, like my elder sister.
Can I just ask, growing up, did you ever have anti-Semitism? Did you ever experience?
Terrible anti-Semitism.
You did have. This is before,
Poland, in Warsaw,
as a child. Do you remember it?
of course. I remember one of my brothers, the youngest brother, went past the church, Florian Church, and next to the church was a short building with different rooms, and he walked to the bridge, Kirbeja Bridge, which we had to cross from Praga, where we lived, to Warsaw. And as he came past the church, some Poles came out from those rooms there. Must have been a school or and they beat him and they cut him with a knife. That he came back home with half of the ear hanging. He never went where he had to go. He had to come back with holding his ear.
Just because he was Jewish and he was wearing a yarmulke.
He was wearing a Jewish, you know, with our men, Hasidim, were wearing caps.
Yeah, the
little
caps. Yeah.
I'll show you what it looked like. So
you experienced it. Wow.
Yes, and of course it was already in the late 30s. The anti-Semitism. I remember on the shop window, some was written in Polish, "Sklep chrześcijański," a Christian shop. In other words, we are not Jews. Instead of saying we're not Jews,
a Christian shop.
Christian shop.
And you were fluent in Polish? You could speak Polish?
I would, of course.
And you spoke Yiddish at home?
Yiddish and Polish at home, both languages. Yiddish is my mother tongue. I can sing you all sort of songs that we used to sing in Yiddish and in Beis Yaakov.
You still remember the songs?
Of course, sure. We used to come Saturday afternoon.
On Shabbos?
Yes, what do you call it? On Shabbos afternoon, Shabbos.
Sudas Shishit? Sudas
No,
Shishit?
before.
The Zmirot. The Zmirot.
We used to sing and dance, and we girls,
Oneg Shabbos.
Oneg Shabbos.
Yeah.
Oneg Shabbos, yes. Yes, Bechu, B'malachutecha, O Shomrei Shabbos, V'kore Oneg Shabbos, in other songs. Yes. It was a lovely life, and then I went to the high school when I finished Beis Yaakov. It was only primary school, and I went to a continuation of Beis Yaakov. Was called high school. Was called Chavatzeles.
Chavatzeles.
Only girls. Very also we learned Hebrew and Chumash, and we davened in the morning, of course. And we were wearing skirts and
it was,
long skirts and long sleeves.
Was it a religious school?
Yes, very much so. Very only. It was a private school. I remember. It was in a building where on the first floor was. I'm sorry, it's becoming impossible. My mind is getting.
No, you are incredible.
On the first floor were Agudas Yisrael offices, and then the rest of the floors were taken up by our school. And across the road from us was a school, a boys' school, also religious school, only boys. We could see from the window. We looked at them. We could see the school. So this was, and this was in Warsaw. We had to cross the bridge. I had to cross the bridge, and every morning I used to come past the shop and ask my mother for some money for the tram, because the tram took me to near the school. So sometimes I used to give it to the poor, and sometimes I used to keep it and save it, keep it in the PKO, which was the office, the post office institutions savings money.
Oh, wow.
So, which came very useful to me when I was 11 years old, because my brother got married to a woman from Skirch, which is near Lodz, and the wedding was there, of course, and they wouldn't take me because already my chatonim went and family. So I was 11 years old. I had to have a full ticket, so they wouldn't take me. I had to stay behind my sister, who was 2 years older than me. We couldn't go. So, and my choten asked me, why are you crying? Because I was crying. I said, they won't take me to the wedding. He says, how come? He says, the ticket is so much, a full ticket. He says, have you got any money? I said, yes, I've got savings in the PKO. It's just enough for half a ticket. He says, all right, get yourself a half a ticket.
Wow.
And I got a half a ticket, and that when my family was leaving, I'm also coming. I didn't have a nice coat,
Gee.
my sister's coat. And when the conductor came into that place where the family was sitting in that
Compartment.
compartment, we were all had a whole compartment. They gave him all the tickets together. He says, and where is the child? When he got the half a ticket. He said, there she is. He said, no, in Polish, that's not a child, that's a woman. A woman.
And you were only 11. You were 11. Only 11 years old.
Yes.
Wow. And you remember the chasana? You remember the wedding?
Oh, yes, yes. For 7 days was, 8 days, 7 days was
Shiva brachot.
Sheva bruchas. Yes, every day.
And your sister, who was a little bit older than you, she didn't go.
No, she didn't
Wow.
go. No.
So because
And
you had
the
the saving.
And 2 brothers had to remain in the business, in the shop. They didn't go. My elder sister went, her husband, and I went, my chatonim.
Like, you're amazing. What a story. Wow. And can I ask, how old were you when the war broke out?
I don't know, must have
In
been
39.
15, 16.
And you remember when the war broke out on the 1st of September?
Of course.
It was bombing. I think
Of course, we remember everything when they marched in. And before that, the Polish government was assuring us on the radio, we won't give in. Nobody will march into Poland. We will fight, but they all ran away. They ran to England as the Germans.
Yeah, it's true. They went to England.
The Germans walked
The
in.
government went in.
They were all in England, the whole government,
Yeah.
the Polish government. They ran away and they left us we were digging, they didn't help. So they started right away with the Jews. That's immediately. All Jewish bank accounts were frozen. All public gatherings were forbidden. All Jewish schools and synagogues were closed, and we had to hand in our radios, and my parents bought our radio. Radio was something very special those days. It was, I remember we asked, and Jewish homes didn't even have radios, but we asked, and they bought us a big, I remember what it looked like, a telefunken, and it had a little green button. I remember it was on the, put it on the a writing desk. We had a writing desk in the room. Put it up. And I remember with helping my brothers to carry it to the police station because we had to hand over the radios.
Wow.
We weren't allowed to listen to the news all over the world. And then they started to help Jewish men to work, to forced labor. And my father was coming back from Shachrit in somebody's, because all the prayers were now done in private homes, in different private homes. So they caught him and he had to work every day, he had to go to work. And when he came back, it was Shabbos already. We heard his footsteps. We couldn't recognize him. Half of his beard was cut off. The collar was ripped out from his coat. It was full of mud. And he says, now I realize that we are in the hands of murderers.
Wow.
And he allowed my brother-in-law, who was a writer, a Jewish writer, my brother-in-law, he allowed him to, says, I give you permission to go. My sister couldn't believe it. You allow him to leave? Says, he wanted to go and he survived. He went to Vilna, Lithuania, traveled through Turkey and ended up in Palestine. And that's where I've got 1 or 2 pictures because we sent it to him.
Wow.
I'll show you just now. So that's...
And he went with your sister?
No, she wouldn't go. She says,
wouldn't go.
where will I go with 4 children? Where will we go? First of all, he went to Bialystok, across the Bug River. He didn't go, he had to get through the Polish, with the Poles were on one side of the Bug River, the other side were the Russians. The whole story I won't tell you. Anyway, he survived. He slept in Bialystok on the floor. He said to my sister said to him actually, look, you are a known Jewish writer, because he was the editor of the one of the Jewish daily newspapers in Warsaw called the Yiddish Togblad.
Wow.
So you are known, and he used to write, and he wrote books, all in Yiddish. You are known, everybody will give you a little place on the floor to sleep, but who is going to, where will I go with 4 children? Where will I sleep? And I don't want to leave my parents and my brothers and my sisters, my family. That was our downfall, that we kept together. That was our downfall. He survived, thank God. So that's that. And then we were sent to the ghetto.
The Warsaw Ghetto?
Yes, it was all in Warsaw.
Yeah.
So we packed some of our belongings, but we didn't forget our own beautiful Sefer Torah, which my father saved from his shtibel.
Sure.
Beautiful Sefer Torah with the maroon mantele and in the top with the symbol. And the rest of our possessions were all stolen by the Poles. And in the ghetto we managed to get a room. We all were sleeping and eating in one room with some machatonim. Afterwards we moved. And then in the ghetto was hunger and sickness. There was typhus. It was
Terrible.
people were starving. They had nowhere to sleep because from other small towns, Jews came to Warsaw. They thought it's better to be together with other Jews from small towns. So they made room for them in what used to be hospitals or schools in the ghetto. And there was no food, and there was sickness, mainly typhus. My father always wanted to learn. He learned.
Even in the ghetto?
Yes. So he used to bring up people, a Jew, a clever Jew, a Hasid, and he used to sit and learn with him. Like he used to do with my brother-in-law, but my brother-in-law was gone. Only to learn. And we begged him, don't bring up people from the street because they carry everybody. Lice, and the lice are carrying typhus. He wouldn't listen. And he got sick with typhus. And Baruch Hashem, somehow, he survived the typhus. And it was difficult because they started to close up streets. When I say close up, they stood around like a wall they made. Nobody could go out. Whoever was in the street was sent away to Treblinka. That's where the place from the Warsaw Ghetto.
They went to Treblinka, yeah.
And of course, you could see every morning what you could see in the streets of the ghetto were bodies, corpses which were put out during the night by their families. They were covered with paper. And there was terrible hunger and sickness. Bodies were piling up. Children were begging in the street in torn clothes, hardly any clothes. It was difficult, and it wasn't enough to survive on the food that the Germans have provided. You had so much, a little piece of bread for, because no sugar there was. So it was difficult to stay alive. People were sitting, children were begging in the street in rags, while next to corpses that were lying. But there was a black market, so if people who had enough money to buy on black market, you could get food, extra food. So, and then in Judah, so I was telling you that they were sending away people that they caught in the streets. And I lost a brother. He came up, and he married also, got married in the ghetto. My father tried to see that the children are all married, not alone. We were having a bit of watery soup, so he asked him to sit down, one of my brothers. He said, no, I must go to my wife. I can't eat myself. And as he went, we never saw him again because he was caught in the street and sent away.
Most probably to Treblinka.
Not most probably, he did. All of them went to Treblinka. In August 1942, the ghetto was surrounded, every gate with Polish policemen and Ukrainian soldiers, Ukrainian guards who worked for the Germans, with the Germans. And there was announcements on the walls that everybody must come down and bring food for 3 days. Don't lock your door. Leave it open. By 10 o'clock, anybody found afterwards will be shot. And this was, they cleared out 2/3 of the Polish, about 2/3 or even 3/4 of the Jewish population in the ghetto. The only ones the ones who remained were the ones who were saved by the bosses, the Germans, of their workshops. You know, there were workshops. They were working, so some of them were saved, taken out, and those who were hiding, like me, and I lost that time most of my family. Before that, my sister-in-law was caught, and my sister caught but the rest of the family, it was my mother and 2 brothers and 3 nephews, nieces and nephews. They came down, and I was hiding, and they came down, they were sent away. So there was the only survivors then was my father. But I won't tell you the details, how come, but...
He didn't go down, your father didn't go down?
No, they came to me, I was somewhere else. I was with my friends, hiding. We were...
So what made you decide to hide and not to go down?
Because we young people, we believed that the only way to survive was not to present yourself. Because we already heard what was happening, that they were killing people.
You already knew?
We heard, we didn't believe it. My father couldn't believe it. He kept on saying it's impossible. The men that came back from Treblinka that was hiding, he must have been hit so hard on the head that he was talking nonsense.
They couldn't believe it.
Never.
No one could believe it.
Can't be, how can kill people, Jews. Anyway, in short, there was my father, my sister, the one, she already lost her 3 children. And her daughter, Roma, who is alive, who lives in Manhattan, she wrote a book. And myself.
And your mother went down, your mother...
My mother, the brothers and the children, grandchildren, all went down.
Oh,
They were sent away. Then my sister was caught, the eldest sister, the one that her husband went away. She was caught. she came to the ghetto. She was working outside in a German workshops with my father and my niece. And she came, she was caught on the 18th of January 1943. It was the first uprising of our Jewish boys, the first small uprising, because the Germans stopped, the SS stopped they closed the ghetto walls. Nobody could go out. Even the people, the men who worked in German workshops outside the ghetto, they were stopped. And my sister had a paper that she was working for a German workshop outside the ghetto. She was going back. All went to Treblinka via to the assembly point. I can't think. And this was the first small, quiet uprising of our Jewish youth.
And you remember it, you remember.
I know, but it didn't last long, or the day, and then this was not, that was January. The big uprising was in April. Yeah. After this, when they cleared out most of the Jewish population in the ghetto, we all went underground. We knew it's no good, so we found a place on the building in the street called Mila.
I saw this.
Mila 19, exactly opposite the building of Mila 18, which was the headquarters of the Jewish young boys that were quietly getting ready to stand up.
19.
I was Mila 19. So we found in a flat. We walked up to the second floor, and the flat had still furniture. People, the owners were sent away, because we even found a pot of food on the stove. What we did, there were some friends, young people of mine, boys and girls, and my father was there, and Roma, my niece, who survived. That's all. It was my father and my niece and myself from a family. We bricked up the doorway leading to the last room of the flat. We bricked it up, and we pushed over a wardrobe so nobody can see that there's another room. And to get into that bricked up room, we had to go up one floor, then to the next floor, to the third floor, which was also abandoned. People were sent away, they were deported. We cut out the floor, the wood on the floor, the parquet floor, and we broke through the ceiling exactly above the room that we have bricked up below. Did you?
I understand. I can't believe it. It's unbelievable.
And we, on a step ladder, and we climbed out. There was about 13 of us, 10 or 13, some, and we went down on the step ladder, and the last person pulled over a place to cover the opening. We even first he also pulled over a cot baby's cot, broken cot, which was left there just to. And we sat there every day. And at night we used to climb out to cook a bit of food because the Germans didn't come into the ghetto at night.
But during the day they would come into...
Oh, every morning, early in the morning. We heard them marching in, looking, searching for us. Waar sind die verfluchte Juden? Where are they? And even once we heard their heavy footsteps on our staircase, and even in our adjoining room, looking, we heard them, Schweine, jüdische Schweine, Jewish pigs, where are you? And with us was a man with his wife. We used to call him Moshe Baker, with a child. And the mother had to cover the baby's face with a pillow in case the baby cried out, the child cried out. And it was the 19th of April 1943, it was Pesach night. I remember my father sharing a little piece of matzah to every one of us sitting there. He saved it from the previous year, a small piece. And he, after the blessings, he prayed to God to save us like he saved the Jews from Egypt. But the next morning, as the Germans marched in to the ghetto, we could hear. They were met by Molotov cocktails, by homemade bombs coming down from rooftops and from windows. The uprising was on, and the Germans were taken by surprise. And they withdrew, leaving there dead and injured. Can you believe it? German blood was flowing in the streets of the Warsaw Ghetto. Can you believe it?
Did you know that the uprising was going to happen?
But they changed. They kicked out. I didn't know this, I heard afterwards. There was somebody else that took over the army. Forgot his name, Mama can't remember. Anyway, they came back the next morning with a tank. But our young Jewish, we didn't give up. We carried on. But unfortunately, we couldn't stand up against the mighty, strong German army, and the uprising was crushed. I believe, I heard it after the war, that we were fighting longer than the Poles.
Yes, it's true. It took the Germans longer to destroy the Warsaw Ghetto than to capture the whole of Poland. It is one of the most amazing, unbelievable facts of world history, that it took the Germans longer to eradicate or to conquer the Warsaw Ghetto than to capture the whole of Poland. It's unbelievable.
Anyway, just to tell you quickly, they were so mad with us, with the Jews, that there was a new general, and he wanted to get out all of us, whoever remained. They knew there was still of us he wanted to get us out and shoot us all. So the only way to do it, how can you get out people that are hiding, that are underground? We were all hiding in different bunkers. We were still in the Mila 19 in the bricked up room. The only way was to set,
On fire.
to smoke us out. So they set the ghetto on fire, building by building, and we had to get out of our room. And it was middle of the night, there was smoke, fire everywhere. We got through the flames and we got back into our building. We went around through other buildings, but it was fire. I don't know how we managed to get through to our own building back on Mila 19 in the last courtyard, which was still safe. There was no fire. The fire didn't reach there yet. And in that courtyard, we have, some time before, while we were still hiding, we prepared a bunker underground in the cellar. We knew that this up there on the second floor in the bricked up room was not safe enough. So we prepared in the cellar, at the end of the cellar, we in the last corner there, we prepared food, a bit like pieces of dried bread, water, candles, and horse fat. We had to have some fat to sustain ourselves. And we put it on a shelf because of the mice and rats. So we all got through the fires, the bricks burning, and we got into this. One by one, we lowered ourselves into that bunker. And we couldn't stand there because the ceiling was so low. We could only lie or sit. And every night, when it was safe at night, we used to crawl out to straighten our limbs and to get a bit of fresh air.
How many were there of you?
We must have been between 10 and 13, 12, 11, I don't
So you were
know.
one of the very, very few.
Yes, it was not a big place. How can you count bodies lying there on the floor? But one day, I don't know, it was day or night, it was night, we were suffocating. We couldn't breathe, we realized that this facade of Mila 19 that we were hiding was now also on fire. Smoke was coming. We knew we were going to die if we don't climb out. So one by one we crawled out of the bunker. And there were other people from the building hiding in also other bunkers, coming out with their clothes burning, with the skin shaped with fire, the hair all smoldering. I'll never forget it. It was night time, but it was as bright as during the day. The whole ghetto was on fire. These flames were coming up to the skies. I will never forget the sight of this. Whenever I see fire, when I try to not to look at it because I see the ghetto burning, and the smell of the burning feathers from the duvets, from the, you know, feathers, when they burn, they've got a particular smell, a special smell.
You can still.
Feathers. You know that we didn't use these.
It was feathers in those days. It was feathers, sure.
Puch.
Yeah.
We called it puch. That was down.
Down.
Yes. And it was the smell of it is always forever in my nostrils. Always. The people were running around with their clothes burning. Some were jumping out from the places where they were hiding, and their bodies were caught on balcony rails or so. And unfortunately, there were two informers, Eden, and they urged us to come out. You won't be shot. Yes, there are Germans outside the gate. You won't be shot. You will be sent to the east. And you will work with your family in their workshops. Don't worry. So instead of being burnt alive, people followed them. And they were caught right away, sent away. But our group that were together all the time, and even in this dark hour, when we were trapped with nowhere to turn, we still resisted, and we refused to surrender. There was Moshe Baker. I told you was with us, a man, Moshe Baker.
Yeah.
He used to have a small bakery in this Mila 19, and he pointed out in this last courtyard where he used to keep the bags of flour. So we lowered ourselves into that place, and we stood so tightly together that we couldn't move our limbs. And every night we used to climb out again to get some air, straighten our limbs. But one morning we heard knocking into our trapdoor. Raus, raus, vervloekte Juden, get out, you cursed Jews. If you don't come out, we'll send guests down. We knew that we were betrayed. We had no option. So one by one, we crawled out, and we were blinded by daylight, which we hadn't seen for some weeks, hiding underground. And then we were ordered to stand with our hands up, facing the courtyard wall. And we were waiting to be shot. And I was begging that I should be shot first before my father, who was standing next to me, and my niece Roma, who was on the other side of my father. But we were not shot. We were only searched for weapons. They knew that we Jews, we are armed. After searching, we were ordered to place all our what we had, some money, or to place into a sack that was placed. And then we were chased out onto the streets of the ghetto. There were still some buildings smoking. Our Warsaw ghetto was in ruins, and we were chased. Do you know where? Have you ever heard of Umschlagplatz? No. Umschlagplatz was a railway siding where the cattle trucks were filled with human cargo and returned empty, ready for another load. Right, I won't tell you that there was no train, so we had to sleep over in an adjoining building, where they chased us afterwards into the trains, into the cattle trucks. Schnells, and those that couldn't run fast enough were hit. When the train was so packed, the cattle truck was packed so tightly that they had difficulty in shutting the heavy doors before bolting it. Bolting it. They had to bolt it. They put a bolt over, you know. Nobody should escape. The train started moving eventually. So some people, fainted, and others were dying in the upright position. There was no water, and somebody was shouting that the train is moving to Treblinka. By God's will, the train, excuse me, did not go to Treblinka, but it stopped at a station called 7 something, outside Majdanek, the concentration camp Majdanek.
Majdanek is in
And everybody is talking of Auschwitz. But Majdanek was not different to Auschwitz.
It was terrible. Majdanek was in Lublin.
It was another.
Same. It was the same, exactly the same.
We were put in the rows of 5 in a column 5, and I was outside, I don't know, on the road, and I tripped and fell, but on each side of us were the assessment with dogs on leashes, and I fell, and I started crawling, trying to keep up with the others, while a dog was biting into my back through my clothes. I was waiting to be shot. Not until the assessment, the guards had enough fun because they were laughing. They stopped laughing, they called off the dog. And they helped me up, and I was walking with them to the camp, to the...
Majdanek?
Yes, because the station was outside far. As we got in there to the camp, all mothers with babies in their arms and children were all sent away, taken away, or selected out. We never saw them again. And then the same thing happened to the men. only the young ones were kept on one side, and the rest were also sent away. And my father was among them. And he turned back to say goodbye, the last, to my niece and myself. And he was hit over the head. And he bent under the blow. And this is when I saw my father the last time. I've never seen my father again.
It's the last image.
The last person of the family, except my niece Roma. Anyway, in short, we slept in a completely empty blockhouse. There wasn't even a piece of straw. We slept on the bare floor. We worked for that. Before the work, we stood to the roll calls, and the food was the little piece of black bread was like gooey, like clay, and the watery soup, floating piece of green leaves in it, rotten leaves. And what they called ersatz coffee was something terrible. People were dying of hunger and of typhus because we were it was impossible really to stay. One day to stay alive, and one day, now listen to this, listen careful. Before that, I'm just telling you, one of the commanders that I was working was called Scheisse Commander. You know what Scheisse is in German? Shit. We were ordered to push a wooden truck, the wooden thing, which was filled with human. So we had to push it on the side and at the back, and two of our girls were harnessed like horses in front. And after the rains, when it was mud, we couldn't get out. Couldn't get out the wheels from the ground. We were hit so hard that eventually we did get it out. Anyway, when we got to the field, open field, we had to open the cork at the back, and we were all covered with human waste. One day, Roma, my niece, and myself were among a group of girls that were sent over from the women's camp to the men's camp. You know, there were different camps. Something very unusual. And we were placed in an empty blockhouse, and some Jewish men heard that there are Jewish women. Some of them came running at them. Have you perhaps seen my mother, Rochale? The other one asked, have you, my child, Bonnie, she had big blue eyes. Or my wife, Sorale, she had a floral dress on when she was taken. We couldn't, unfortunately, say anything. We didn't know. They were chased out in any case. And it was at night. Oh, forgotten. There was a Polish man that was among them when they came in the men. A Pole, a Christian. who sat next to Roma and I, and he wanted to hear because we just came few weeks before from the Warsaw Ghetto. He wanted to know what happened and what's happening in Warsaw. He was a prisoner, a Pole, and he gave us a piece of chicken.
Wow.
Anyway, when the men were chased out, he also was chased out. And it was middle of the night when we were ordered, rouse, rouse, out, out, middle of the night. The whole camp was so quiet, you couldn't hear. And on the side of us were the assessment, the guards, and the dogs were next to them on the leashes, and they were barking. It was terrible. Can you imagine? It's so peaceful, you can't hear a thing. And then the dogs are barking, and we knew that we are going, that it's our last minutes in this world. They chased us into a bathhouse. It was written in German. There were two. One was for men, one was for women. It said bathhouse. We got in. It wasn't a bathhouse. It was a gas chamber.
This is in Titanic. Yeah. I was there. I saw it.
When the heavy doors shut behind us, we knew that the poisonous gas was going to come down any minute from the showers. We scraped the walls, we called for help. We called Shema Israel. Help us, Rabbeinu Shalom. And I was holding my niece's hand, Roma, and I was whispering, don't be afraid. It won't hurt. It won't even last long. We will soon join our loved ones. At this very minute, the heavy doors opened and an assessment walked in. We could hear his boots. Ruhe, he said, quiet. You're not going to be guest. You're going to stay here till the morning, till dawn. We couldn't believe it. Some girls kissed his feet. We begged him to allow us. There was a tiny window right on top near the ceiling. If we can open it, in case it was another trap of the Germans another night. So we climbed up, one girl on top of the other one, and we opened slightly so air could come in. We thought it's another trick of the Germans, maybe. But it was true. We sat there, and at dawn, we were chased out. As we stood there on the platform, there was a contingent of women, Jewish women, coming off the cattle trucks, and they passed us, and they were sent directed straight into the gas chamber we had just left. And there were Jewish men prisoners working on the tractor, and they said to us, that we are lucky, because that we are alive. The Germans received an order to guess 500 Jewish women and not 700, and we were 700. They are so tisch, they say in German, very detailed, precise, that the order was wrong. There was a mistake. They took us for the order of 500, but we were 700. So the ones that came with the train and the truck, they were 500. They were guessed, and we couldn't say. It was due to German orderliness, and the fate was with us that we were alive. And with these same trains that took us to Auschwitz, the trains that those women came off, we were sent to Auschwitz.
Wow.
You want to hear further?
Of course. From one death camp to another death camp. You went from Majdanek to Auschwitz.
We said,
wow. You know what? I just want to mention, there was nowhere to run. There was nowhere. What could you have told the ladies?
When we were coming from Warsaw, when we were going to Majdanek, we didn't know Majdanek. We never heard of Majdanek. There were from others. Some people jumped out, but they were shot. They cut out on the floor.
So you were taken on the train after they told you to leave. You were on the platform, and then you went on the same train.
I'm sorry.
You went on the same train.
The girls came off.
You went on that train.
Yes, they directed us to this train, and this train took us to Auschwitz. Yes.
Oh, lovely.
And you know, after some years ago, I was visiting Poland, Warsaw, and I found out, it was about 7-8 years ago, at the Jewish Institute in Warsaw, that our transport was not accepted in Auschwitz. They wanted to send us back. It's all
documented.
Documented, correct, that's the word. I've got the copies they gave me. Because there were so many, they tell you so many were sick, others dead bodies, some, and the rest, some of them not suitable to work in Auschwitz. So they were going to send us back, but the order was overruled by somebody. They even give the name of one of the Germans, and we remained in Auschwitz. Had we been sent to Auschwitz, to Majdanek back, we wouldn't have survived, because I think I don't know if I'm wrong, maybe, if we were one of the last transports that left Majdanek.
Wow.
The rest were all guessed, cleared. Anyway, in Auschwitz, there was all the big shots were standing outside. As we came past, we didn't go through a selection. We came already from another.
From another camp.
Yes. So we were already selected. Mengele was standing among all those big...
You saw him?
Yes. I didn't know who he was in those days. I didn't know. But I know that he was standing there. Our hair was shaven off. We were tattooed. My number was 48,632, and below the number was a triangle, like half of a
Magen David.
Magen David. This was a sign of a Jew. Afterwards, I think they didn't do it anymore.
Did you have? Did it say on
I
many
will
years?
show you a picture. Dr. Penn operated on me.
To take
here.
it off.
Dr. Penn.
He was a very famous plastic surgeon, Dr.
Yes,
Penn.
I've got his letter. And then
Did he take it off? Dr.
I was 3 times at the Florence Nightingale in Johannesburg. Are you from Johannesburg?
I know Florence
You know the
Nightingale,
Florence
sure,
Nightingale, the hospital.
Yeah, I know it. Why did you have it taken off?
Because my family said, my husband's family said that I must try and forget. I couldn't walk around. I had a big number. The girl that's tattooing had a heavy hand. Roma was in a different row, so her number was smaller. Mine was big. How could I walk around
You
here?
still have the scar.
Oh
There's the
yes,
scar.
oh yes.
There's a scar there.
Yeah, I had it taken out in 1948, soon after I came to this country.
You know, Dr. Penn went to Israel to help with the burn victims.
Say.
Dr. Penn went to Israel
Oh yes, he
to
was
help with the war victims
correct.
in the 48 war.
You seem to know a lot. I didn't.
It's he was a very famous.
Yes.
He was also a sculptor. He used to make sculptures.
He showed us. You invited my husband as we were here for a holiday in Cape Town, so he invited us to home for
You
tea.
know, this is unbelievable. So they tattooed your hand.
Yes, my arm.
Your
And
arm.
I wasn't anymore Nechama Frank. I was prisoner number 48,632. The names, there was no names.
They dehumanized.
Sorry?
They wanted to dehumanize.
Yes.
That's what
They
the
did.
intention was to dehumanize.
They did. I worked in heavy work on the roads, carrying heavy stones, bags of cement and sand. When I come to think of it now, I can't understand. Where did I have the strength to do this work? Men do this work here, but I knew I wanted to live. It was in me. I knew. I believed. It was something very, very, very special. I felt Hashem always around me.
And you never lost Emunah.
I never lost faith in Hashem.
That is the most amazing thing. After seeing everything and going through everything.
See, I heard in Auschwitz from a girl who came from Janov Lubelski, I don't know. When I heard Janov, I got so excited because I remember one of my brothers left the ghetto with his wife and little daughter to a little town, Janov there, and he was we used to send sometimes money to a farmer, a Pole, because he used to come there to them. And the girl when I heard in Auschwitz that the girl came from Janov, and our rabbi that you spoke to, Rabbi
Weinberg.
Yes, his late grandfather came from Janov.
What a small world.
A small world, but he left before, I don't know, before the war, I don't know exactly. Anyway, I asked if she knew Henrik Frank Henry. She says, of course. He used to sing, he used to dance, he used to sing songs and dance and make everybody happy. I said, how come that you hear? She says, the ghetto in Janov was surrounded and they were all shot out. And I had to carry on. I knew I wanted. One day my niece Roma came to me and begged me, come, let's go to the electrified wires. Let's end it. It's no use carrying on. The only way in any case to survive Auschwitz is through the chimney. So what's the use of struggling? I begged her, please wait. I wasn't ready to die yet. Come, wait. Maybe if we survive, we will tell the world what these murderers have done to us. We carried on. I had typhus. I was afraid to go to the hospital because Mengele used to come every few days or unexpectedly, and he shut everybody, all the sick, to the gas chambers. I was afraid, so I was hiding. I couldn't go to work, I had typhus. I was hiding. First of all, I had to go to work, so I don't know. The boy in the Shirano was with me, and I hid myself behind blockhouses. And then in toilets, and I was running, and not until the crisis was over that I joined my commanders at work. It was terrible. When we had to stand to roll calls in rain, in burning sunshine, and frost, and snow, in hail, rain, until they came to count us to check if nobody was missing. And the block elders, they used to report so many sick, so many dead, and so many ready to work. And the wooden clocks used to get stuck in the mud after the rains in the mud, and in winter time, the snow used to accumulate under the clocks, and I walked like on stilts. Anyway, we were sent to Bergen-Belsen. And then when I saw what happened in Bergen-Belsen, there was no gas chambers, no crematoriums. The people were falling like flies in any case. They were dying. The bodies were lying up in big
piles, they're in piles.
Yes. Outside each blockhouse, and even inside, the stench was unbearable. When I saw this, I said to myself, no, after surviving the Warsaw Ghetto, Majdanek, and the gas chamber in Majdanek, and Auschwitz, here I mustn't end up on this on all these bodies. I mustn't join and I mustn't lie here. I must fight. I must carry on. I must survive. And so it was. On the 15th of April, 1945, we were liberated by the British Army. And I didn't know this, what's her name, the Dutch girl.
Hannah Goslar.
She was one of thousands.
And Anne Frank, she was
I'm talking of Anne Frank.
You didn't know Anne Frank?
No.
But she was one of thousands that came.
One of thousands.
She died.
Were lying, the bodies were lying.
She died of typhus 2 weeks before it was liberated.
Yeah, this is what. And it's a funny thing, when we were liberated by the British Army, the soldiers were given us, gave us they were so sorry for us. They had little tins of provision of food. And I warned Roma, my niece, don't take it, don't eat it. I don't know
How
what
did you
made
know?
me.
Because so many people died from eating the food.
Exactly.
How did you know? Not to.
I don't know, my heart, my wisdom, I don't know what it was. I said not to touch it. Our stomachs were not used to this rich food.
You know, you are. It's unbelievable that you had the insight, the chokhmah.
Yes.
That saved your life again. Your life is one miracle after another miracle after another miracle.
Yeah. Miracles, I am correct, one after another. That's why I feel Hashem with me always.
So what did you eat when they came?
Slowly there was, the kitchen was, we were, first of all, we were transferred to the camp where they lived, the Germans, and we had got a room, a proper little room, and you know what I had? A bed in it, and a sheet, and a blanket, and in the room was a little basin with a tap and water. Can you believe it? They looked after us, the joint also, the joint distribution. UNRWA, joint, they all looked after us. But then there's another story how I left. I went to Poland.
You went back to Poland?
Yes. We were liberated in April. And in August, I traveled to Poland with a woman who came, who was a neighbor of ours in Prague and Warsaw. And much older than me. How she survived, I don't know. A strong woman. And it was terrible, the journey. I got papers that I had, they should look after me, but I'm looking for my family in English and in German. And I had no passport, no ID card. No. But I had my thumb. Abdruck from the finger. The
Abdruck is fingerprint.
Fingerprint. So I traveled. And it was because I was lucky. I couldn't go alone because the Russian soldiers were raping girls. It was terrible. I wouldn't. This woman was like a mother with me. She was also survived Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen. And I came to Warsaw. And I walked on the ruins of the Warsaw Ghetto. It was not cleared yet, not what you see now, ruins. There was one of the buildings there in Praga was an office where whoever survived, if they came to Warsaw back, put their name down and where they are, with the contact number. So I put my name and my niece's name and the contact number, Bergen-Belsen.
There was no other...
That was my home. I went, the building that we lived was a hotel already that was rebuilt because it was many years after the war. My parents bought a building in Warsaw, in Grochów, in Praga there, in 1936. Roma was in Poland soon after the liberation, and she found somebody who gave her all the details, the numbers, the registration numbers, when it was bought, from whom and for how much. I didn't even know. Oh, I did know. I knew the address. And I went there, and it's still the tablet was there. This building, the owners, and Naftali and Chava Frank.
Really?
And the superintendent asked me where are my parents. I told them they're no more. A Pole. A small building, not a big one. But 13 flats. I can't get it still now. They won't even give me a Polish citizenship. I can't get a Polish passport. You know that?
Even though you were born there?
And born and bred and went to school and lived.
And that building, who owns it
No,
today?
because the law is that 1950 I became a South African. Up to a certain date, if you changed citizenship.
It's unbelievable.
And of course the building they won't give, they won't. They stole, not only mine, others.
Many, many.
Yes. They became the owners. In short, there's plenty more, but I gave you a short resume.
What happened after Bergen-Belsen? Where did you go after?
Oh, you want to know where I went? Oh. I went to Paris in November. Did I tell you that my brother-in-law, Roma's father, survived and he lived in Palestine, in Tel Aviv?
Before the State of Israel, before 1948, sure. When it was under the British.
He was there in 1940-41.
And he survived under the British when it was under...
He left before the ghetto. When they were davening in our house, in our flat, before the ghetto, when we were...
Yeah, he left.
No. They davened, I told you the synagogues were closed, davened in private homes in different... So when they were davening in our home, after they finished davening, he stopped the people from leaving, and he said, "Jews, leave. I am warning you. We won't get out alive. Leave while you can." And you could leave. You went over the river Buk to the Russian side, to Bialystok. That's what they said. He's a writer, he's got fantasies in his head.
Such a pity.
But my brother-in-law left afterwards. When my father came back from this terrible work, he gave
He
permission
gave her to leave.
because he didn't have the heart to go by himself. My sister wouldn't go with 4 children. Says, where will I go? Sleep in the veld with 4 children. So he left and he survived. He went to Vilna, then Turkey. Took him a year, I think, to get to Palestine. And when he came to Palestine, still during the war, he went to the British consul. It was under the
British,
mandate, yes. And he said, I've got a wife and 4 children in Warsaw. Give me a visa. And he had a photo, which I show you just now, of the wife and the 4 children together. And he got a visa for his wife and 4 children, which he sent to Warsaw, to the ghetto. And the ghetto was already almost, there was nothing left of the ghetto, hardly anything. And Roma, my niece, got it. My sister was still alive. It was another 1942. And she didn't know what, my sister didn't know what to do. 3 of her children were gone. So Roma was there and my sister. She didn't know what to do with it. She was working with my father and Roma, the 3 of them, in a German workshop outside the ghetto. She didn't know what to do with this visa. So she decided to come into the ghetto and speak to somebody to help her with the thought, must she go present herself to the Gestapo with it or what? She didn't know what to do. And my son, Henry, can I call you back? Can I call you back? Where are you?
Yeah.
Where are you?
On my phone. On my phone.
I know you're on the phone, but where are you?
The kitchen.
Are you at home?
You know.
What is today?
Today's Sunday.
Oh, it's Sunday, of course. All right, I'll call you back, Henry. Henry, hello? Why did he disconnect me? I want to introduce you to somebody that's sitting next to me, Henry.
You told me you were going to phone me back.
Wait.
You said you were going to phone me
I was going to, but I changed my mind. Somebody that's living for 25 years in Jerusalem. Here. Talk to Henry in Joburg.
Henry, I'll speak to you later. I'm just having a great honor to...
Tell him your name.
It's Les Glassman, Dr. Les Glassman. I'll phone you, and your mom is just something I've never in my life met somebody like your mom.
Tell him where you're living.
In Beitwagan in Yerushalayim. I'll be Bakesha. I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Okay, Zaki-zun, thank you so much. It's such an honor. Okay, wonderful. I will be in touch.
Okay. He's got a home in Jerusalem.
Oh, wonderful.
You must...
I'll phone him. So your mother, they didn't know what to do, to go to the Gestapo with the certificate?
She didn't know what to do. Anyway, she came into the ghetto, and when she was going out on the 18th of January, 1943, they shut the gates, and even the groups that were working outside the ghetto. Men, men used to work in different workshops outside the ghetto as well. Nobody could leave the ghetto. Everybody was sent to the gas chambers, actually not directly, but to the trains to
Treblinka. They went to Treblinka. The majority went to Treblinka from Warsaw.
And there was a story with my sister. She was a frum woman with a shaitel, When she was in the... I mustn't talk anymore. I can't think of... I'm short of words. My mind is very bad.
No, you are incredible. Your mind is amazing.
No.
But your sister...
Anyway, I'm not going to talk. When she was waiting for the train, there was no train, so they were somewhere in the bottom waiting for the train, and there was a man who knew her and her husband, the writer, and he said, I can get you out if you give me a very frum Jew, a Hasid. Give me what we all had, some valuables with us, each one of us. We knew if we didn't believe that we're going to be sent to Treblinka. We thought, as the Germans,
to work
that we're going to work, so each one of us had valuables to buy food from the Poles or to hide, to give us a place to sleep over. So he says, give me your valuables and I will buy you out. She gave it to him. He got himself out.
Oy.
And not her. And afterwards, how did we know about it? We didn't know. Somebody stopped in the street. My niece Roman asked, oh, so your mom is all right? She will. She said, no, I lost my mother, she's gone. So she told her about this incident. I don't know how she knew.
Maybe she
because she
overheard.
must have also been there. And my father met this man, he knew him, and he told him, he met him in the street and he said to him, you horrible person, what have you done to my daughter? He says, no, I don't know you. He says, you know my son-in-law, Shmuel Rothstein, Rav Shmuel Rothstein, you know him. No, you got yourself out with my and you let my daughter go to death. People came, stopped them. It was too late. She was gone. I don't know why I was telling you about this incident. Everybody was for themselves. Everybody. You try to survive. But this man is also gone. He didn't survive.
He didn't survive.
No. No, afterwards.
And how long were you in Paris when you went to Paris?
I was telling you, you asked me how I got to Paris.
Yeah, and why did you go to Paris?
In November. My brother-in-law got...
that's how we got...
He got certificates to go for his wife and 4 children.
To Palestine, to
Yes.
mandate Palestine.
And of course it was lost. When we went to Majdanek, she had it, they pulled it off her, Roma. when we were liberated by the British Army, the tanks were coming in. We got a piece of paper, I don't know where we got it, and a pen. Somebody must have given us, one of the soldiers, and little pieces of paper like this, and we wrote on the outside, Rabbi Samuel Rothstein, 7 Neve Shannon, Tel Aviv, Palestine. And inside, and we wrote on the other side, Roma, Hela, Alive, Bergen-Belsen. And we folded it like this. Little pieces of paper like this. Folded it, and we gave it to the soldiers. This, sent Palestine, sent Palestine. One of them, nobody even said, one of them went on leave to London, and his mother found it in his pocket, and she sent it on to my brother-in-law with a letter. Anyway, my brother-in-law was a known figure in Poland, in the Agudas Israel, and he got in touch with Hillel Zeidman from the Agudas Israel in Paris. They had an office, and they got us out. We were one of the first ones. There was a rabbi, the grandchildren or the relation of the Gera Rebbe's son, boys, one boy and another boy also, who survived. So you had to have special permission to leave. We got, the office was asked to let us go to Paris, and we were in a military truck. I don't know, about 10 of us, and we traveled through Holland and through Belgium, through Brussels to Paris. And Mr. Hillel Zeidman was working for us, and we were under the Agudas Yisrael, looked after. And of course we used to get parcels from the joint distribution, food. And then Roma, her father went back to the consulate in Jerusalem, and he said, my daughter is in Paris. I found a daughter that is alive. You gave me a certificate a few years ago. He still had it. He said, I found a child alive, one of my children. I want to bring her to Palestine to me. And she, you know that you couldn't go.
It was, they blockade. It was a blockade.
So she got an official permit to go to Palestine. And then, so she was with her father.
She went?
Yes. And she stayed with her father in Palestine, in Tel Aviv.
Could you have gone as well?
And then I couldn't go, only on Aliyah Bet with her.
Yeah.
So my brother-in-law came in 1946, I think. He came to Switzerland, to Basel. There was a Zionist conference in Basel, and he came as a reporter. So he came to visit me in Paris from Basel, and he decided there's no place for a girl like me to live in Paris. And when he went back to Palestine, he went to the British consul, and he said, I found another daughter, because he had 3 daughters and a son. The youngest one was a son. So Roma went already. She was with him, and the other children were gone. So he said to the consul, I found another daughter. living alive in Paris. I want to bring her to Palestine. And he got a permit, but in the name of Rothstein, not Frank. Rivka Rothstein. His name was Rothstein.
Okay.
So I got papers right away in Paris in the name of Rivka Rothstein, born in 1927. And I traveled by boat to Palestine. Under the name of Rivka Rothstein, I had papers. And I lived there for 6 months, from July to December. At the end of December, I met a South African. And we were married on the 13th of January. I knew him for 13 days.
Sure.
And I came to South Africa under the name of Rivka Rothstein. And I'm still living under this name.
Wow.
You know.
I'll open.
You want to open?
Rivka Rothstein, wow. Rivka, and did you come to Johannesburg?
Sorry.
When you came with your husband, your husband
Under
was...
the name of Rivka Rothstein. And my passport is still Rivka Rothstein.
It's still Rivka Rothstein.
Still born April 1927.
And your husband was Blumenthal?
My married name?
Yeah.
Yes, Blumenthal. But born Rivka Rothstein. I never changed it.
And what was he doing in Palestine, your husband?
He came to visit his sisters. His mother and his sisters were living in Palestine from Latvia, from Liba.
From Liba?
Yes.
That's where my wife's family came from, Liba.
Yes. I told you.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Such a small world.
The sisters and the mother were living in Liba, but she passed away before the war. But the sisters were living, they came to Palestine. And the brothers came too. That's the story.
That is amazing. And did you live in Johannesburg or in Cape Town?
Johannesburg. First in Johannesburg, then on the East Rand in Brakpan. Do you know the East Rand?
There was a family.
Benoni,
There was a family Zlotnik.
Sorry?
Zlotnik. Eva and Jack Zlotnik.
In Brakpan?
In Brakpan.
Of course I knew them, and they know me.
That was my grandmother's sister. You see what a small
I
world
lived for
this is?
30 odd years in Brakpan. I had a business.
And there was
The
a doctor.
Zlotniks, of course.
There was a doctor, a dentist, a very famous dentist who taught us Zelter,
Setzer. Yes.
What a small world. There was a
My
shul.
son, this one, taught his son for Bar Mitzvah. It's not Setzer's son. Oh no, the other dentist, not his son.
There was a shul where their daughter,
Sorry?
the shul in Brakpan, the daughter got married. In Brakpan.
Whose daughter got
Eva and Jack's daughter, Helen. And they had
Whose daughter?
Eva and Jack, Zlotnik.
Zlotnik's
They
daughter.
had a daughter, Helen, unfortunately was Nita, and a son, Cecil. That's our mishpacha. Wow. And then when did you come to Cape Town?
1995. From Brakpan. With my husband, and he wasn't well already. He passed away here.
And how many children, Ken and Horat, do you have? How many children?
I don't like to count, but
Ken and Horat. Wonderful. It's wonderful. Wow.
I just want to show you quickly. Okay.
Okay.
Wait. come in with me. if
Okay.
you Want to?
Very much.
I just wanted to show you. This was taken in the ghetto,
That was in the ghetto. What do you say?
Warsaw ghetto. And I am not here. I was holding my brother's. Can you see my
Yeah, I
hand?
can see. Wow, that's your hand. Wow.
Nobody is alive, only Roma.
And your father?
This is my father.
Wow.
My father never wore a hat, but it was on.
And this is in the Warsaw ghetto.
Yes, my brother got married. Can you see?
And
That's my brother.
And your mother?
There is my mother. And this is my chatonim, my brother-in-law's parents.
And the only reason you have the photo is you sent it to your brother-in-law
When
went to
they
Palestine.
got married, we sent it to him, and this is how we got it. She wrote at the back, my brother-in-law wrote at the back, this is his wedding.
Did he ever get remarried?
Sorry?
Did he get remarried?
Who?
Your brother-in-law.
He went to America after I left. He got married to the Rebbe's daughter or sister, Rebbe. I tell you just now which Rebbe. Anyway, a Rebbe's sister and a Rebbe's daughter.
And he was close with his daughter, with Roma. He was very close.
She's the only child.
Only child. But they were very close.
He only left after she got married. I think. This is the photo that the British embassy got in Jerusalem. My brother-in-law had this photo. I went with my sister. This is my sister. Can you see she's wearing
With
a
the shades
shaitel?
on. Wow.
Beautiful. She was dark like me, but she had a blonde shaitel.
And these were her children.
This is Roma, the eldest one. And I've got her name,
Sure.
Rivka.
Sure.
Treblinka.
This is very hard. Eh? Wow.
That's why we've got this picture, because of my brother-in-law. This and this. I went with her. We were still, soon after the Germans came in, I went with her, with the children, to the photos. I was such a...
You were so strong.
No, why I'm saying I was a fly here. I was a macher, you know.
A big macha, sure.
And I was the baby. I was the youngest.
It's very beautiful with the sea.
I was the youngest in the family.
And Helen, you go to shul every Shabbos? Sure.
I look forward to the Shabbos. Every day of the week. I feel the holy Shabbos. I love it.
It is so beautiful to hear that. It is so special. After all you went through, after all it's unbelievable. You lost
And you know what? I'm not cross with Rabbeinu Shalom. I don't know. That is how he wanted this. How can I be cross? Most of my friends think that I'm mad. How can you still remain religious? Even in Israel, I've got 2 friends who were with me. We were at school together. They come from homes like mine, very frum homes. They are not completely of religion. How can you remain religious? We saw what happened to our parents, to our brothers, to our sisters.
You are the most amazing person I think I've never met somebody like you.
What can I do? What can I say? I say that's how he wants it like this.
But you know, you had such nisim, such miracles that they didn't shoot after the Warsaw Ghetto when they put you by the wall, that they didn't shoot you. Baruch Hashem, but they didn't shoot. They could have just shot.
Yes, we were standing like this.
To be in Madanik, I was with my wife in Madanik in July. It, for me, is the worst place on earth. I've never been in that gas chamber. We just walked through it. You see the scratch marks on the walls. There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse on earth than that. And that you were in the room and they opened the doors. It's unbelievable.
Yes. That's why I feel Hashem always around me. I'm never alone. People
Hashem
ask me,
is all around
do you
you.
live? Who stays with you?
Hashem is with you all the time.
Are you living alone? I said, no, I'm not alone. I'm never alone. Because Hashem is always around me. That's how I feel.
Hela, I just want to say that you are an inspiration. You are